constantly trying to become water. It moves with urgency, it rises, it crashes, it breaks, trying so hard to be what it already is. It does not realize that it has always been water from the beginning. In the same way, we push and pull and hustle, trying to become worthy, loved, successful, enlightened, forgetting that our very essence is already complete, not perfect, but whole. And this doesn't mean you stop growing or creating, but the place you act from changes. No longer are your actions motivated by lack, by a need to prove your worth. They arise from joy, from inspiration, from the sheer delight of expressing what is already within you. When you know you are whole, you no longer seek experiences to fill a void. You engage with life because it's an but the kind that simply is. Steady, present, untouched. Most people fear that if they stop chasing, they'll become stagnant. But the opposite is true. When you realize you're already whole, your actions become more potent, more meaningful. You're not acting out of desperation or lack. You're not trying to fix your life. You're expressing it. You begin to play rather than perform. You move not to become, but because moving is part of the dance. And this dance of life becomes far more beautiful when you're not constantly stepping over yourself, trying to reach a future that never arrives. Every moment becomes enough. Every breath becomes sacred. Even the so-called ordinary things, a sip of water, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, become extraordinary because you are finally present enough to see them, to feel them, to be with them. This is the essence of having everything right now. It's not about material wealth, titles, or accomplishments. Those things can come and go. This is about the deep, unshakable knowing that you lack nothing, that you don't need to become something else to be worthy of peace, that you can return to yourself not tomorrow, not when things are better, but right now. You have been enough all along. And the moment you stop running towards something else is the moment you arrive fully where you are. And where you are, in its raw, quiet simplicity, is everything. To act as if you already have everything is often misunderstood. People think it means putting on a show, pretending to be someone you're not, faking a smile when things are crumbling, or lying to yourself about your circumstances. But the truth is far more subtle, more profound. It is not an act of pretending, it is an act of remembering. not the world collapse. That kind of knowing isn't loud. It doesn't have to convince anyone. It simply is. This way of being does not mean you're blind to what's happening around you. It doesn't mean you ignore your bank account or deny the challenges you face. It means you no longer identify with them. You recognize that your true power lies not in reacting to the evidence of the senses, but in standing in the feeling of already being the person you wish to become. Because in a strange, paradoxical way, you only become that version of yourself when you stop trying to be them and instead live as them. The mind might say, but I don't have it yet. How can I act as if I do? And that is where you gently smile and say, I don't need to have it to be it. Because the outer form is always the echo of the inner state. And the inner state is entirely within your domain. It is the one thing in life that is always yours. You can be in a quiet room with nothing but your breath and still feel rich, still feel chosen, still feel like a vessel overflowing with life. When you begin to live from that place, the world doesn't ignore you, it responds to you. awareness to what you are. This is not mystical in the way people might think. It is deeply practical. If you are living from a place of lack, even if your words say abundance, your energy says otherwise. If you say, I am worthy, but you move through life apologetically, hesitantly, waiting for someone else to confirm your value, then the world picks up on the hesitancy, not the affirmation. But when you act as if you already are what you desire to be, when you walk as if the path is already laid out before you, you are no longer seeking alignment. You are becoming. Imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding, not hoping, not pretending, but deciding that you are already in possession of the inner wealth you seek. That the love, the freedom, the peace you long for is not a goal, but your starting point. What would you do differently? How would you speak to others? How would you speak to yourself? How would you hold your body? Would you rush? Would you chase? Or would you move with the quiet, steady rhythm of someone who knows that all is already well? This shift is subtle. It happens not through dramatic declarations, but through small, consistent decisions. Choosing to speak from your heart instead of from fear. Choosing to slow down and listen to the stillness within rather than reacting to every external demand. Choosing to say no when something no longer fits the version of yourself that you are now living from. These small acts accumulate, and soon your outer life cannot help but reflect your inner stance. The reason acting as if is so powerful is because it bypasses the mind's constant need for evidence. The mind wants proof before belief. It says, show me and I'll believe. But that is the language of delay, the language of postponement, the language of powerlessness. The language of true creation says, I believe, and therefore I see. Not in a blind way, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that recognizes the source of reality is within. You are not tricking the universe when you act as if. You are aligning with its laws. You are tuning your inner state to the frequency of the life you desire. And in doing so, you make it easier for that life to flow to you. Not because you forced it, but because you became the version of yourself who no longer blocks it. You stopped resisting your own power. You stopped arguing for your limitations. You stopped identifying with lack. Acting as if is not about pretending to be rich while your bank account says otherwise. It's not about faking a relationship or putting on a spiritual mask. It's about living in integrity with your highest truth. And your highest truth is that you are already enough, that you are already connected, that you are already whole. From that place you begin to create not out of desperation, but out of joy. Not because you need to fix something, but because you are expressing something that is already complete. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to convince anyone. When you act as if you already have everything, the energy does the speaking for you. You begin to radiate confidence. Not a loud, boastful confidence, but a quiet, magnetic presence. You don't demand attention, but you draw it. Not because you are seeking it, but because you are not resisting your own light anymore. People may not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. The world feels it. And it's not just people. It's opportunities. Doors that once felt closed begin to shift. Conversations lead to new pathways. Ideas that once seemed far away begin to land gently in your awareness. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. You stepped into the current instead of swimming against it. You may not see the outcome right away. The external still takes time to catch up to the internal shift. But in the space between acting as if and seeing the evidence, you discover something more precious than the result itself. You discover the joy of embodiment. The joy of living as the person you once only dreamed of becoming. And in that joy, in that state of wholeness, you realize that what you were chasing was never the thing. It was the feeling, the experience, the knowing. And that knowing is available to you now. So when you act as if, you are not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. You are no longer seeking proof from the outside world. You have become your own evidence. You have become the